Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Talking Ball podcast. I'm your host, Chase. Today we got NFL football playoff time. First round wildcard matchups, or the super wildcard, whatever you want to call it. Moving into the second round. And we got some news, and then basketball, and then NBA basketball, and then college basketball. We only had one college football game. It was the national championship. We'll go over that a little later. But as for right now, we're going to hop into NFL playoffs, and it might be a little bit shorter of an episode, probably more in the lines of 35 to 45 minutes, depending on how much I talk. So I'm going to try to keep it around there because, we don't have 16 games going on in the NFL or whatever. But yeah, we'll see as we go. And let's get right into it. So the first game we had was Colts Bills. This was a close one. The Colts almost pulled it out. I told you the Bills would have their hands full with this Colts team. I thought they were a very good team for being a 7 seed. Or what, the lowest seed in that conference. But yeah, the Colts gave the Bills a run for their money. Couple calls here and there that you may agree with, you may not, against the Bills, but the Colts couldn't figure it out and ended up stalling in the last few plays of the game, and the Bills won it 27-24. The Colts are eliminated from the playoffs. It was a good run. We'll see what Phillip Rivers does. As for Phillip Rivers, he played all right. He had a decent completion percentage, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. Jonathan Taylor is a real bright spot for this Colts team. He had 78 yards and a touchdown. Young running back there who I think is going to be really good in the future. As for Phillip Rivers, I'm not sure what he is going to do. He's been talking about this year being his last. Maybe he retires, maybe he doesn't. We'll see. But they got Jacoby Brissett backing him up at the moment. So, yeah. As for Buffalo, they will move on to play the Ravens, who another really good team with a really mobile quarterback and a really good running back, which they struggled against. But I think the Colts, I don't know about statistically, but I think the Colts might have a better defense than the Ravens do. Maybe not secondary-wise, but definitely D-line, linebackers-wise. But that'll be a fun game. Josh Allen, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 54 yards on the ground and a touchdown to lead them. Stephon Diggs had 128 yards in the air and a touchdown. Yeah, the Bills are good. The Bills are going to be good for a while. I already said last year that I was going to be a Bills fan. I said I was going to be a Browns fan and a Bills fan. But Bills right now are probably one of my favorite teams to watch. Favorite team. I love Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs was a great pickup for them. I think they're going to be really good. My favorite team will always be the Patriots, but I got to root for somebody else if we're not going to be good. So, but there's that matchup. First AFC wildcard matchup we're going to talk about. Next up, we have our first NFC wildcard matchup, the Rams and Seahawks, and the Rams upset the Seahawks 30-20 in a game where Russell Wilson just didn't play well. The Seattle defense didn't play well, and it was just a rough game all around. The Rams defense... Wait, did I say the Rams defense didn't play well? The Seahawks defense didn't play well. I can't remember even what I said. The Rams will move on to play the Packers, who are really good, obviously, 1 seed. So that defense is going to have their hands full. The defense is going to have to step up Jalen Ramsey against Devontae Adams. That's going to be the matchup there. Aaron Donald going against that good O-line in Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. So, It will be a fun one. I think. Well, the Seahawks wouldn't have played the Packers next round, but I think the Seahawks would have had much harder time with the Packers than the Rams are going to. But I fully expect the Packers to win, most likely. The Rams defense played great. Had a fumble recovery and a pick six. 5 sacks, 2 from Donald, 2 from Floyd, and then Fox. Jared Goff came in the game for Wolford after he was knocked out of the game. Came in with a broken thumb, threw for 155 yards and a touchdown. And Cam Akers had 130 on the ground with a touchdown. Cam Akers, really, really bright spot for them. The Rams have struggled as of late to find a running back, who can replace like Todd Gurley. His first few years with the Rams, obviously his last few years with the Rams were a bit of a struggle for him because he didn't want to be there. But hopefully they found what they want in Cam Akers. And as for the Seahawks, they're eliminated from the playoffs. And Russell Wilson just 11 for 27, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw the pick six. Both touchdowns were to Metcalf, who had 96 yards. Just a rough game. Wilson only completes 11 passes. They went 3 and out a lot, punted a lot, turned the ball over twice, including a pick six. So, Rams offense didn't really need to do much. They scored a couple times, and that's all they really needed. So, disappointing loss for the Seahawks. Really, really bad loss for the Seahawks. There's no way they should have lost that game. But moving on to the next NFC wild card, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team. This was a really good game. Really, really good game here that I watched the back end of. And it was a competitive game. That's why there was going to be one or two things. There was either going to be a complete blowout by Tampa or it was going to be a good, competitive, close game. And most of the time, playoffs are usually pretty competitive. But the Bucs win 31-23, and they'll play the Saints, the Grandpa Bowl between Breeze and Brady. Their defense did get a turnover, and Brady did play well with 380 yards and 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette took the starting position in this one. I think Ronald Jones has been dealing with some kind of injury nagging him, so he didn't play in this one, but Fournette did well, 93 yards and a touchdown. Godwin and Brown caught each a touchdown each from Brady, and Mike Evans had 119 yards. The lead receivers, Taylor Heineke played for Washington, who is now eliminated from the playoffs. Alex Smith was a game-time decision. He didn't feel like he could play, so Taylor Heineke stepped in. He played really good. 306 yards, touchdown, and interception, and led rushing for Washington with 46 yards and a touchdown. J.D. McKissick also had a touchdown. And to lead the way in receiving was Sims, and then I don't know his first name, but then the other Sims Jr., not related, I don't think, caught Heineke's touchdown. So really, really bright future for Washington, whether that future be Heineke, Antonio Gibson, Chase Young, or if they try to find a different quarterback. But Heineke did really, really well for being his second. I think that was his first start. No, it was like his second start in the NFL to be in a wild card playoff against, being, well, I guess technically they weren't the lower seed, but playing against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers defense. He played really well for having been thrown into that position. So I hope they bring him back. I hope he deserves that spot. That is his spot as of right now. That is his quarterback spot for the Washington football team. Moving on to day 2 of football, playoff football. Man, I'm flying through, man. It's all right. We might talk a little bit about basketball a little bit more in depth, but I want to try to at least hit 30 minutes. AFC wildcard game on Sunday. Ravens-Titans. Ravens sneak away with a 7-point win, 20-13, and they will play the Bills this weekend. They had the one interception at the end of the game from Marcus Peters. And Lamar Jackson did all right. I mean, he only missed 7 passes out of 24, and he had 179 yards. He did throw a pick. He did have 136 yards on the ground, though, with a 45-yard rushing touchdown. And J.K. Dobbins had a touchdown on the ground as well. And then Marquise Brown led the way in receiving with 109 yards. So they'll play the Bills. Maybe that's what I'll do after I talk about all the games. I'll talk about matchups and see what I'm looking at. The Titans are eliminated from the playoffs. A very disappointing game here for Ryan Tannehill. 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Also a very disappointing game for Henry. He just couldn't get anything going. The Ravens' run defense, like I was saying, is pretty good. So they shut down Henry. He carried the ball 18 times and had 40 yards as in total. So rough game for Derrick Henry and rough game for the Titans as they are eliminated, and we'll have to wait till next year. In probably the least competitive game in the playoffs so far was Bears-Saints. Saints won 21-9. The Bears are eliminated. Trubisky played all right. He won the Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player or whatever, even though they lost. He threw a touchdown right at the end of the game to Jimmy Graham. Great one-handed snag from him. But it was Drew Brees and the Saints, really, that, took over this game. 265 yards and 2 touchdowns from Brees. 1 to Latavius Murray, 1 to Michael Thomas. And then Alvin Kamara had 99 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And for our last AFC wildcard game, Browns-Steelers. Upset, if you will, for Browns-Steelers, as the Browns win 48-37 and will play Kansas City in the next round. They had a fumble recovery to start off the game. Snap went over Big Ben's head, and Joseph recovered it in the end zone. They also picked off Big Ben 4 times, 4 of them. 2 of them were tip passes, and 2 of them were just really bad passes. Redwine, Taki, Stewart, and Gustin all had 1. Baker Mayfield played really good. 263 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt carried the way on the ground. Chubb had 76 yards, and Hunt had 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Browns will be playing Kansas City. It's going to be an interesting one. Nick Chubb also caught a touchdown, and then Austin Hooper and also caught a touchdown, and Jarvis Landry led the way with 92 yards and a touchdown from Baker. As for the Steelers, they are eliminated. Started 11-0. And went 1-5 after that to end the season very, very bad. But hey, it was a good season. It was a good regular season. Couldn't come through in the playoffs, and the rushing game, man. It's crazy. I don't know what happened. When they were going 11-0, James Conner was rushing for hundreds of yards. And now he doesn't. In this one, he had 37 yards rushing. He had a rushing touchdown, and he had a receiving touchdown. but he had 37 yards on the ground. Big Ben threw for 501, had 4 touchdowns, but to throw the 4 picks. Juju finally breaks 100 yards in the loss, though. 157 yards and a touchdown for him. Eric Ebron had a touchdown, and Chase Claypool had 2 touchdowns. And yeah, that's it for NFL. I know, right? 15 minutes in, we're done with football. I want to talk about the matchups a little bit. First matchup, Bills and Ravens. This is gonna be a good game. This is gonna be a game of what defense is gonna give, or not give, but what defense is gonna get a stop first. I think it's gonna be a shootout. I think it's gonna be touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and whatever defense can come up with turnovers, can come up with 3 and outs, stops in the red zone, holding the field goals. That's the team that's gonna win. It's going to be all about the defense. Even though it might be a high-scoring game, it's going to be about that 1 or 2 stops that defense is going to get. And I think that Bills' defense can get those stops against Lamar Jackson. I think Josh Allen's going to have a good game. Marlon Humphrey's going to have Stephon Diggs as his assignment. But the Bills got weapons. Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley, Zach Moss, Isaiah McKenzie, all these guys. They can all score. They're all fast. They can all catch. So it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to go to the Bills. I think it's going to be... Let's go 35-31. Bills. Yeah, 35-31 Bills. I think it'll be like 35-28. Baltimore will kick a field goal. And then the Bills will just win it from there. Next matchup, Rams and Packers. It's just really all going to come down to the Rams defense. Again, another defensive game, right? The Rams also are going to need to capitalize on offense. If that defense gets a stop, you need to score. If you don't score, then that's just waste. And the Packers are going to come down the next possession and score and make you pay. You can't give the Packers... You can't give them unanswered points. You always have to answer. If they score, you got to score. Or it's just going to get too out of hand. Because Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are the best quarterback wide receiver duo right now in the NFL. And there's no stopping them. Jalen Ramsey can do all he can, but you're not going to stop him. You can only hope to slow him down. And the way you're going to slow them down is by playing good defense, getting a couple 3 and outs, maybe a turnover, and capitalizing those stops on the offensive side. Green Bay's defense is good. You're not going to score every single time, but you need to make the most of your opportunities and score, or this offense is just going to torch you. I think Packers will win decently handily. I'm going to say like 28-14, something like that. Somewhere around there. But I think the Packers definitely win. But it's going to come down to the Rams defense. Coming down to the Rams defense and if they can score. Ravens Bills we already talked about. I do think Lamar Jackson could have a day on the ground. The way Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to beat the Bills is if he can make the plays through the air. He's going to make those plays on the ground. He's going to. It's just going to happen. But once they start happening, the Bills have athletic linebackers that can spy him and that can chase him down. So Lamar Jackson going to have to get it done through the air. Limit turnovers. And limit big plays. Especially for the Bills. They need to limit big plays. The Bills love big plays. Big 40-yard chunk plays. They love them. They need to limit those. Saints and Bucks. Oh, I totally passed over that one. But we're down here anyway. Saints and Bucks. This I think is probably going to be the best game of this weekend, or it's going to be a blowout by the Saints. And hear me out. The Saints defense has been playing crazy the last few weeks. Not just this last game against the Bears, but the last few weeks, their defense has been incredible. Drew Brees is back and playing well. Alvin Kamara is always a double threat out of the backfield, whether it be on the ground or in the air. Michael Thomas is back, and they just got weapons everywhere. Jared Cook, Latavius Murray, Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith, everywhere. The Bucs defense needs to be that number one rush defense right now in this game. Force Brees to throw, force Brees to beat you in the air, and he can, he might, but force him to. Don't let him just hand the ball to Kamara and have Kamara run all over you, or you're just gonna lose. There's no way out of that. As for the Bucs, Brady needs to play well. If Brady has a bad game, that's over. It's over. If Ronald Jones is back, that's going to be a key factor. And if he's not, Leonard Fournette's there. So they still got weapons. They have great receivers. The Saints secondary has really stepped up in the second half of this season, even though it's been a bit of a problem in the past couple of years. If Brady can find holes and exploit that secondary, then, you know, it could be a good game for the Bucs. But it's going to come down to the Bucs defense, the Bucs rushing defense, and how well they can read and defend Drew Brees. I don't think I've talked about Ravens Bills already. But for this game, I think it's going to be I'm going to say 24-21. Bucs win in overtime. Saints get the ball first. They get a 3-and-out. The defense. And then they go down and kick field goal. 21-24 in overtime. Bucs. And as for Browns and Kansas City, now Chase Claypool went on his little TikTok and live or whatever and told his viewers that the Browns were going to get clapped. And I mean, it very possibly could happen. The Browns defense, isn't, their D-line is good. Their secondary's beat up a lot. And their linebackers are also beat up. This offense is going to have to carry this team. I think if the Browns don't score some points on every offensive drive they get, every opportunity they have, it's going to be a rough game. Because that's what the Chiefs are going to do. They're most likely going to score points on every single time they get the ball. They haven't played in a week, or like 2 weeks or whatever. The Chiefs haven't played in 2 weeks, so that could hurt them. I'm sure they're all warmed up. I'm sure they're ready. They're practicing every day. But I don't think it's going to be as far away as people think. I think the Chiefs are going to win. But I think the Browns can make this a good game, and I want the Browns to win. I like Patrick Mahomes. I like the Chiefs. I'll be happy for them if they win the Super Bowl. But I want the Browns to win. I would love to see the Browns and the Bills. Browns, Bills. Then on the other side, Packers, Bucks. And then I'd love to see a Bucks, Bills, Tom Brady, Josh Allen. That'd be fun. I'll get my predictions on the Super Bowl next week when we have the next matchups. Well, not the Super Bowl, but the predictions for the conference championship. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna do it for football. I know it's just we don't have a lot of games. There was only 6 games. It's only 6 games to talk about. We got them through in 25 minutes and my predictions. We're gonna move on to news. Then we'll go to NBA, and then college basketball, and then we'll head out. And yeah. So, not a lot of great news in the NBA as the season's going on. Not much crazy good news comes out of the season when it's happening. Injuries are sadly a thing. And we got two bad ones. Both Markelle Fultz and Thomas Bryant both tear their ACLs. Thomas Bryant was in practice, and Markelle was in a game. So their seasons are both done. That's a big hit to not only the Magic, but just Markelle Fultz in general. He's number one pick. Didn't really pan out in, where was it? Philly? Who drafted him? I can't even remember. I think it was Philly. Didn't work out. Had his jump shot had some work. He just wasn't NBA ready. Now he's been playing well. Plays good defense, can score, is shooting well, and then this happens, and it sucks. So, hope he gets better. As well as Thomas Bryant. He was a good core young center for the Wizards, and there are three players, pretty much, that could, them being out makes the Wizards worse, and that's Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, and Thomas Bryant. He's a big key part of that team, and they're not going to be the same without him. So, get well soon to him. And then Jason Tatum test positive for the coronavirus or whatever, causing a game to get canceled against the Heat. And some other games were canceled due to it too, not due to him, but due to COVID. Seth Curry also had it, and that caused the 76ers to have to play with 7, but the league minimum was 8, so they suited up 8, didn't play one of them because it was hurt, Mike Scott, and played with 7 players, and that's when Tyrese Maxey dropped 39. 39. LaMelo Ball becomes the youngest NBA player to record a triple-double at 19 in some days. I believe, who was it? It was LeBron, then it was someone, and now it's LaMelo. Can't remember who it was. But good for him. That was a win over the Hawks. He had 22, 12, and 11. It'll be on the screen. Yeah. Some NFL news. The All-Pro first team is here, and second team, but I'm only going to do first team. So, first team All-Pro offense will be quarterback Aaron Rodgers, clearly. Running back Derrick Henry, yeah. Receivers Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. Okay. Tight end Travis Kelce, yeah. O-line from left to right, David Bakhtiari, Quentin Nelson, Corey Linsley from Green Bay, Brandon Scherf, and Jack Conklin. I think that's his first name, from Cleveland. No arguments there. Tyreek Hill, could be interchanged with somebody. I don't know who. I'd have to look. But good offense there. First team defense, the DNs, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Good picks there. Interior, Aaron Donald, DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner had a breakout season with the Colts, so that was really cool. Linebackers, Bobby Wagner, Fred Warner and Darius Leonard. Corners, Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. And safeties, Tyrann Mathieu, Budda Baker, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. No complaints there. I think that's a pretty solid defense. And as for special teams, Sanders from the Dolphins, Miami. Maybe could have been Young Ho Koo. There was another kicker who was really good this season. Can't remember. But yeah, sure. Jake Bailey from New England was the punter. Gunnar Olszewski from New England was punt returner. Cordero Patterson was the kick returner. Odom from the Colts was a special teamer, all-pro special teamer. And the long snapper, Morgan Cox from Baltimore. There's the all-pro teams. No complaints there. No complaints anywhere, really. I think it was a pretty good all-around team set up. So, more news. The Eagles are cleaning the house one way or another. Their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, stepped down, as well as they fired head coach Doug Peterson after the season. Bad season for the Eagles. 4-11-1. Carson Wentz didn't pan out. And after winning a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, not the same. Doug Peterson said, get used to it. This is going to be the new thing here in Philly, and that's winning Super Bowls. So, see how well that went for him. The Cowboys fired their defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, and then hired Dan Quinn, former Falcons head coach, to be their defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, Legion of Boom, with Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, etc. So the Cowboys are looking to him to turn around their defense. Tom Brady became the oldest player to throw a touchdown in the playoffs at 43 years old and some change. Beating George Blanda? I think it was George Blanda. The Raiders hired Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator. He spent the last 4 seasons as the Chargers D coordinator, and before that he had 4 years of coaching the head coach of the Jaguars. And finally, Colts offensive tackle Anthony Costanzo officially retires after 10 seasons. He was the 22nd overall pick in 2011. Never won a Pro Bowl, but was always a solid lineman for the Colts. He showed up in passing situations where he caught the ball. He caught balls for touchdowns. I've seen. So yeah, good career for him. And he's retiring now. And as for the College Football National Championship, Alabama destroyed Ohio State 52-24. Mac Jones, 464 yards, 5 touchdowns. 3 of them to Devontae Smith, who had 215 yards. And Najee Harris had 79 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. Insane game from Alabama and everybody there. Just a well played game all around. And Alabama deserved it. This was a crazy good Alabama team. This Alabama team was crazy good. It's always the same old, it's Alabama, boom. This team's crazy. Najee Harris, Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. I forget his name, but their left tackle hasn't given up a sack in 3 seasons. 3 seasons there. Not 1 sack. Jalen Hurts didn't get sacked. Tua didn't get sacked. And Mac Jones didn't get sacked. Nobody got sacked. Yeah, crazy good team. Oh, and Patrick Surtain. I don't forget him on the defensive side. Crazy good team. They deserve that championship. And they they showed why. As for NBA, we're going to try to get a good 10 minutes out of NBA and college basketball before we head out. Like I said, I wanted 45 minutes at least. These next few podcasts are going to be a little shorter. Hopefully I can keep them in the 45-minute range. I think that'd be better anyways. So, looking at basketball here, we had some good stuff. Malcolm Brogdon drops 35 on the Rockets in a win. Joel Embiid had 38 on the Wizards when Beal had 60. Bradley Beal dropped 60 against the Sixers, and they lost by 5. Gordon Hayward's been balling like crazy. He had 44 in this one against the Hawks. He also had 34 against the Knicks, and he had 26 against the Pelicans. Crazy games there for him. He's been playing really well. He's pissed. People overpaid, overrated. He's pissed. He's coming out with vengeance, man. Luka drops 38 points and 13 assists in an overtime win against the Nuggets. Damian Lillard drops 39 points on 7 for 12 from 3 to beat the T-Wolves. Jason Tatum had 32 against the Wizards, and Beal had 41 in that loss. Steph Curry put up crazy numbers in the crazy comeback against the Clippers. 38 points, 11 assists, 9 threes made. Fred VanVleet put 34 up against the Kings. LaMelo Ball, youngest player to record a triple-double against the Hawks, had 22 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. Mikal Bridges had 34 points against the Pacers on 6 for 8 3-point shooting. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 36 on the Magic for 8 on 8 for 13 shooting. Zach LaVine dropped 45 in a loss against the Clippers, where Kawhi had 35 and LaVine had 45. And Jokic had one crazy game, and then we'll move on right here against the Timberwolves. 35 points, 15 rebounds. Good game there from him. Surprises, Harrison Barnes dropped 30 in a win against the Pacers. Rashawn Holmes had 24 in a win against the Bulls. DeRozan had 38. That's not really much of a surprise, but that's a lot, 38. Joe Harris had 21 points off the bench. Jeremy Grant, becoming that number one option for the Pistons, had 31 points and 10 rebounds in an overtime win against the Suns. So good for him. And Joe Harris in this one against the Sixers. The Harris had 21 points was Gary Harris against the Sixers when they had 7 players, and Tyrese Maxey had 39 points. Joe Harris dropped 28 points on 6 for 9 3-point shooting against the Sixers. All right. I mean, that's basketball right there. Teams are still looking good. The Knicks are still playing well. Julius Randle had a 31 point, 15 rebound game in a win. So good there for him. We're going to move on to college basketball. Not much college basketball going on, really. A lot of games are kind of getting postponed or canceled. And we only have really 2 or 3 days where we get more than 3 games. So here it is. We're going to go through and talk about the upsets. Number 13, Missouri falls to unranked Mississippi State by 15, 78-63. Number 23, Michigan State takes down 15 Rutgers, only allowing 45 points. That was from day 1. Then number 19, Virginia Tech falls to Louisville by 2. Duke barely squeaks out with a win from Boston College, 83-82. Number 17, Oregon loses to Colorado, 72-79. Number 23, Michigan State loses to Purdue, 54-55. Unranked Maryland takes down number 12 Illinois 66-63. Ohio State unranked takes down number 15 Rutgers 79-68. That's two big losses for Rutgers this week. They're definitely going to be dropping from 15, that's for sure. And yeah, that's about it. That's all we had. Gonzaga put up 116 on Portland. So that's the only 100-point plus game this week. But yeah, that's going to do it. I mean, we're at 41 minutes, so good enough. But yeah, it's going to be like this for a little bit shorter, easier to digest podcasts, I feel like. So if you like the shorter ones, let me know. If you like the longer ones, let me know. But yeah, this is episode 24, and I appreciate you guys listening and watching. And yeah, peace out, everybody.